This is a production of South Dakota Public Broadcasting.
Year after year, South Dakota high school activities bring memories and new stories to tell. And year after year, South Dakota Public Broadcasting is here to highlight the young talent and share their stories with people across the state. Join us as we take you on a journey to look at some of the highlights from the 2022-23 school year and hear some of the great stories about scholars and athletes from throughout the state.
Support comes from Anthem Oats in Frederick. The Assumptions have been stewards of the soil since 1882. From the family farm, right to your pantry. AnthemOats.com. Donors to the Explore South Dakota Fund support the production of local documentaries and other programs of local interest presented by SDPB. Friends of SDPB appreciates their support of this program.
When many of us in South Dakota think of fall, we think of high school football. But there's so much more than just the action on the gridiron. There's state boys golf, girls tennis, soccer, cross country, cheer and dance, all-state chorus, and orchestra, and of course, volleyball. Our first story tonight takes us north of Aberdeen, where we'll meet a young lady who is a part of the Leola Frederick Co-op.
Ashton is the most fun-loving, honestly, just a bright star on the court. I've never seen her have a bad day through all that she's been through. She's just honestly, again, just a bright star. She's the most positive influencer just in our community, on our volleyball team. She just strives to make people a better person just with her story and what she's been through.
My name is Ashton Hadwick, and I'm a freshman at Leola High School. I don't know how to put it into words, but volleyball is like, I've played it since I was probably a 5th or 6th grader, and I've always loved it. Right when I started playing, I knew that was going to be my sport, and I'm definitely gonna stick with it until I'm not able to.
Ashton is your typical teenager on the surface, but last year she went through something that was far from normal.
I was having real trouble breathing during basketball, and then we went to the ER because I had an asthma attack during the game, and they diagnosed me with pneumonia, so they treated me for that. And then after several months, I still had trouble breathing.
Doctors struggled to find an answer for weeks and weeks. Not only that, she was becoming weaker and had to be put in a wheelchair.
You noticed that whenever I stood up, my pulse would rise a lot. So when I was sitting down, it would be at 70, and it would skyrocket to 180, 190.
After months of searching, a doctor in Dallas, Texas, finally came up with what was causing all of this.
He had a suspicion that it might be POTS syndrome, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So it's wherever you change positions, your heart rate will skyrocket and your blood pressure will either rise or go down. So my case was my heart rate would skyrocket and my blood pressure would also get high. So I had hyperPOTS syndrome.
Kind of a relief once you had a name for it, because this started back in December, and as we were going through it, progressing, they kept trying different things, doing other tests, nothing would really show up. And then when she just kept getting worse and worse and less mobility, and you just felt helpless, wondering what can I do? You're almost lost, how can I help her? And nobody was doing it. So once we had a name for it and what it was, and then we could start getting the medications and different therapies and looking into it a little more. And it was just a relief to have a name for it at least.
The recovery wasn't easy, but little by little, she started to get her strength back.
Basically, she was the rock through this whole thing. She would just go through it and just lay through it, and she was way stronger than what I could have ever been with what she went through.
Ashton started setting goals for herself during recovery. One of them had quite a bit of meaning.
Be able to walk on stage for my middle school graduation, because it was kind of a big deal at the point. So that was what I was working up to, is to be able to walk on stage and get my middle school diploma.
This fall, she miraculously gained enough strength back to start playing volleyball again.
I did not think that she was going to make such a full recovery, that she was going to be out on the volleyball floor, diving for balls, moving. I thought that this was going to be a very slow progression into, I knew that she wanted to get back to where she was, but I knew that it was probably going to be a slow progression. Never in a million years did I think that she was going to be out on the volleyball floor and doing what she loves again.
She always has a smile on her face. She's never one that's going to have a frown. She's not one that gets mad on the court. She doesn't yell at her teammates. She's one that gives positive feedback. And she's been a great hard worker and always willing to do anything that we've ever asked her to do.
She's just such a coachable girl. Honestly, she makes every single one of us want to be a better person just because of her attitude with her love and life. Just again, when I say that she's a bright star on the court, she absolutely 100% is.
It's really awesome to be back with my whole team and just playing again, because that was one of my favorite things to do. And since I got from being in a wheelchair to this, it's really nice to be back.
Volleyball continues to be one of the premier girls' sports in South Dakota. Gymnastics also saw record-breaking performances this year with 2 gymnasts from O'Gorman. Girls wrestling is also seeing continued growth in South Dakota, and one dominant girls program is in Canton, where Carly Laubach and Zoe Adam created quite the duo for the Seahawks on the mat.
Well, what makes the two of them special, the thing that stands out to me right away is neither one of them has ever suffered a loss to a South Dakota opponent. Carly, it's been 2 seasons now. This is her 3rd season of undefeated in South Dakota, undefeated all around. And Zoe, last year was her first year with us, and Zoe hasn't been beaten by a South Dakota opponent last year or this year. So that's what's very unique about both those girls.
I have been wrestling for 9 years. I took like a 3 or 4 year break throughout middle school, but I started because my dad was the youth wrestling coach, and I have 3 older brothers who are all in wrestling in Canton. So, and since the program was so awesome, I was just always in it. I love wrestling because I've always been a competitor, especially with 3 older brothers. Like, I'm such a competitor, and I love being aggressive and physical. Like on the basketball court, I always fouled out. I was so aggressive. So like, in order to have and when I got this opportunity to have the contact sport, I just took it right away. I love contact and I love being physical. So yeah. With being undefeated my entire career and winning it my sophomore and junior year, I don't know. I think just the idea of continuing to win is what kept me in, and I don't know. I just like winning. I mean, who doesn't?
So I grew up in Alberta. What brought us down here was, after COVID, everything shut down, and it was really difficult to be able to do things because we weren't allowed in any buildings with other people, so we needed to move. And South Dakota was a free and open state, and we thought that would be a great place to be, low profile. And when my mom was researching wrestling teams, Canton kept coming up as the best wrestling team in South Dakota. So we ended up here, met Coach Ask, and it's been here ever since, and it's a great deal. It's taught me more about perseverance and, you know, like that mental edge, how to push through. It's also taught me about how good God is and how he can, like, he's Lord overall, and that's the mental side of it mostly, because that mental edge is needed in every aspect of life.
To right now have Zoe and Carly is super unique. You know, and sometimes you don't realize that, what's happening in the moment, until a year or two passes. Having those two seniors the last 2 years at 70 and 90 just back to back, it's like, you know, murderer's row, they call it, you know. There's just very few teams that have anybody they can put on the mat that can compete with those two girls. They're the backbone. They're the backbone of the program right now. You know, we're in our infancy. They're going to be the pioneers. They're going to be forever remembered. You know, their records and what they've accomplished will go down in history, so that's cool.
It's no secret that South Dakota is a basketball state. Our history is rich, and we have programs with legacies that extend for decades. Our next tale, however, combines basketball and art.
Alexa Hamm is an artist on the court and off it. On the court, the Rapid City Christian senior helped lead the Comets to their first appearance in the State A basketball tournament.
A nice layup there off the glass for Alexa Hamm.
Obviously, it's a first-time experience, and to have it be my senior year is even better. Yeah, it's incredible.
You know, the great thing about Lex, too, is she's always got a smile on her face. You know, sometimes I even get on her because she just needs to be a little more mean. But, you know, obviously that's just for a small moment in time. But she's a great kid.
Off the court, her art is done with a pencil.
Ever since I was little, I've just loved drawing. Not necessarily good at all, but I've just had that consistent, like, urge to draw. And I guess I've just developed that skill and, yeah, used it as a way to bless others.
But it was a tragedy in the Hamm family that inspired Alexa and her mom.
Ties by Carrie Hamm, illustrated by Alexa Hamm.
So 3 years ago, in August, my little sister Jenna passed away. And the book is titled Ties because it's about the tangible and intangible ties in our life. And I had a really strong tie to Jenna. She was my best friend, you know, closest little sister. And so it was a hard thing for me to deal with. And so when my mom was inspired to write these words, given to her by the Lord, it was a really special and kind of a difficult thing for me because I have the giftings like for illustrations and I'm thankful for that. But it was hard to draw knowing that this was about my little sister. And I also feel like it was kind of a coping thing. Like it was almost therapeutic to go through and just reflect on the times I had with my sister, even if they're little moments.
It begins with a balloon up there in that tree. How can you keep that treasure close by? How do you keep it from floating so high? A tie, yes, a tie.
I think it'll really help. It'll be an impact, I feel like. And so just hoping that it's a simple way to bless others.
The Hamm family was actually able to pick up the first rounds of their book in Watertown during the state basketball tournament.
It was amazing, and the fact that it coincided perfectly with state basketball, it was wonderful. We just drive down there as a family, drive back with the books. We just want to get it to people that it will impact. Like, so if you want the book, like, by all means, get it. Like, it's just one of those things that we wrote because we know that there's a lot of grieving people, and there's a lot of people that can benefit, especially from knowing that there's a Father in heaven who holds all their ties.
But whether it's art or basketball, it all ties together for Alexa.
I guess it's both kind of a competitive thing. I like to get better, and so whether that's art, basketball, I just like to improve myself. So.
Ties are love is the idea I have planted. The ties in your life, never take them for granted.
When it comes to fine arts events, the All-State Band is one that adds some warmth to a sometimes long and lingering winter. Like most musical fine arts events, All-State Band requires an audition process where young musicians compete against each other across the state. Davis and Brooks Boone are brothers who are both in percussion. The pair made the state band this past year together. As you'll see, their brotherly bond with music extends deep.
The Boone brothers have definitely got the beat.
Simple and clean.
They are the only siblings to be included in South Dakota's 2023 All-State Band.
I really look forward to All-State. It's one of my favorite things to do because when you're in a band with a bunch of good musicians, it just makes everything sound better and feel like you have an important role with other important people.
Years ago, I would see him in All-State and I think I want to be like that. I want to make it into All-State. So it's nice just to finally get in, and especially just be in Davis's band for his senior year.
It's the last time we'll be able to do this because I'm graduating, and it's fun to just be with him for one final time.
If you're wondering how two brothers made the band, they do have one simple secret.
Put a lot of time into practicing and make sure that we perform well.
My room is very crammed with a desk and a bed and a drum set. It gets pretty loud. Yeah, it's kind of chaos.
Generally, there's always something happening.
Our schedule right now, we have lessons on Monday nights, and then we're in the Pursuit drumline, and we practice 4 hours on Thursday, 4 hours Friday, and then maybe like a 10-hour day on Saturday. So a lot of hours spent playing drums. Yeah, on top of that, there's like jazz band at school. So 3 times a week at 7 a.m., we're just all over the place all the time. It's fun though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we put this much time into it, so we almost have to love drumming, or else we can't do all of this stuff.
I love playing drums, and it's just really fun because, like a concert band, it's completely different from like a drum line, where a drum line is just laying down some sick beats. Pete Hansen, the owner of Groove.
Like this.
And I credit our success to him.
He's the one giving us these solos for All-State and helping us get prepared for our auditions.
Also credit my parents because they pay for the lessons.
But no matter how well prepared a musician is, auditions for All-State Band sound like a daunting process.
You get to a live audition and you're like shaking and you're nervous. For percussion, you can choose timpani, snare, and marimba. So you try out for 2 out of those 3. And you have to do an etude, and then you have solos for each song. And then you also have rudiments in percussion. And then you also have a terms test, so there's like 100 terms that you need to know. And then the sight reading.
Right now my plan is to go to SDSU as a music major and hopefully join the Army National Guard Band, which would be a lot of drum set playing. And then in the future, I don't know, the South Dakota Symphony or more indoor drumline, because I love drums, so anything, I'd love to do it, yeah.
Obviously, I want to continue drumming, whether like that be jazz band in the future, drumline, concert band, be able to grow and develop my skills for drumming and become a better musician for the future.
There's so much you can do with percussion, so I think every kid should try to be a percussionist. I think it's awesome.
I've just really enjoyed becoming a better musician because of my brother, and I'm just glad to be here performing with other musicians and other people who work hard.
State track is one of the biggest events of the year, and it's because it consists of the most participants. This past May, fans were treated to curtain calls by 2 of the best prep athletes in state history. Gracelyn Lyseth of Hamlin finished as the best female shot put and discus thrower in state history. The second was Simeon Birnbaum of Rapid City Stevens. He finished his career in a Raiders uniform by topping legendary runner Rod DeHaven's mark in the 1,600-meter run.
Onside in state history. Another championship for the Stevens Raiders.
One story you might not know surrounding high school track, it comes from the town of Webster. Senior Drew Reitz came into the year as a top pole vaulter in the state. He also is the first South Dakotan in history to be elected as a trustee in a world-renowned club known as Key Club International.
Drew Reitz is a senior at Webster High School, and while he's a runner in track, pole vault has a special place in his heart.
We got pole vault when my second brother was a freshman. And when I was in 7th grade, he kind of wanted me to do it. I actually didn't want to do it at first, so he snuck me into the armory over there, and we started doing little private sessions. So then when it was the first day of track, I zipped over a bar, and my coach couldn't even believe it. But I don't know, then I just slowly picked it up and started getting better, and I just kind of fell in love with it. When I got second my sophomore year, it was a crazy feeling, and the year after that was kind of the wake-up moment, like, oh, this is real, like, and now I'm here, and I never really thought that this would happen, but I'm glad it did, and I've worked hard for it.
Drew is a very unique, I would say, person, not just athlete. He's actually really grown a lot, so I've been able to see him from 7th grade through his senior year. And he used to be a middle distance runner, now he is a long sprinter and a pole vaulter. He's the youngest of 3 very athletic brothers, so I think he's also had some of that. And he's managed to distinguish himself from his older brothers, both athletically and academically. So seeing him grow into that, and just seeing how much he's changed this year, he's very comfortable with himself. He's learned a lot through a lot of his experiences, and he's really come a long way.
Drew isn't just known for what he does in track and field, however. He recently became the first kid from South Dakota to be elected as a trustee in an organization known as Key Club International.
So Key Club is the world's largest student-led organization, and our goal is to provide service all across the world, community service, different miscellaneous stuff like that. For me, I am South Dakota's first Key Club International trustee. So what I do is I supervise a bunch of areas around the world, and I make sure they're doing what they need to. I deal a lot with the CEOs and the different people at Children's Miracle Network, and we figure out different solutions and different projects to raise funds.
We are so excited that all of Key Club International gets to see how amazing our recipient is. Congratulations to Drew Reitz of Webster, South Dakota.
It was a very crazy moment. I never thought I would get to that point ever, and when I did, I was so happy. I mean, I had worked really hard for that moment, and I had worked so hard to prove that I could get to that point, so it was amazing, and the whole town was super supportive. I bet I was in the paper for about 3 weeks after that, so that was amazing.
Drew definitely likes being in a leadership role. He enjoys it. Seeing him grow from a middle schooler to a high schooler, he's seen the work that he needs to put in to earn that leadership role. So I absolutely think that especially Key Club and this international trustee position he's earned have really helped him grow, especially in the last year.
The connections and the people who are in it with me. I mean, even being from a small town, I've been with the same people, pole vaulting, running against the same people for years now. I've been in track since 7th grade, and it's been a blast getting to know new people.
Next year, Drew Reitz will attend Columbia University in New York City, where he plans to study pre-law.
A major addition to South Dakota high school activities this year was the official sanctioning of softball. The inaugural state tournament took place in Aberdeen. Sioux Falls Lincoln, West Central, and Castlewood won state titles. One of the most heartwarming moments, though, of the tournament was the first pitch ceremony to begin all three tournaments. The three people to throw it were selected because of their impact with the sport in the Mount Rushmore State.
We are pleased to welcome you to the opening day of the inaugural South Dakota High School Softball Tournament. With 49 teams entering into the first ever sanctioned softball season.
Here to throw out the first pitch for the Class A tournament is one of Aberdeen's own, Tootie Padal. Tootie didn't have the opportunity to play softball in high school, but played baseball with the guys in Frederick. Carol Stelner talked her into playing fast pitch, where she played in the mid-60s into the late 70s. She then started coaching youth in the early 80s, trying to give younger athletes an opportunity that she did not have. Tootie was definitely a mover and a shaker in getting her fast pitch started for younger athletes in the 1980s with much help from the right people. Tootie just turned 80 years young this past week. Ladies and gentlemen, here to throw out the first pitch in the inaugural softball tournament, our mover and shaker, Tootie Padal.
In my life, boy, this is a good day.
The ability to offer this opportunity to female athletes. Joe played softball for the USC Coyotes from 1978 to 1982. Ladies and gentlemen, the first pitch of the inaugural softball tournament by Joe Alp.
I have no idea where we're going, but here we go. All right.
Here to throw out the first pitch for the AA tournament is one of NSU's very own Hall of Famer Deb Eshe Finnison. Deb was a four-sport athlete for Northern State from 1980 to 1984. She played basketball, softball, track, and golf before becoming the volleyball and softball coach for the Wolves in the late 80s and early 90s, where she helped her team to 2 district championships in softball. Deb is currently an instructor of the alternative education classroom at Central High School here in Aberdeen. Ladies and gentlemen, Deb Finnison.
A new school year is now underway. It means plenty of new memories to come, and we hope you enjoyed our presentation of Tales from Last Season. I'm Craig Maddock. Good night.